In this video, we're going to be making this candy cane decoration. Again, as with the other Christmas decorations that we've been making, it's completely up to you if you want to make this to hang on your Christmas tree, in which case I'd recommend the wider 5mm paper. Or you can use this for Christmas card, gift tag decorations, etc. In which case I'd recommend the slightly narrower 3mm width papers, but it's completely up to you. I'm going to be making this for my Christmas tree, so I'm using this 5mm width papers, and for most of these they're going to be half strips, but I will talk you through that as we go along. The holly there, you can see I've used some 3mm gilded edge papers, and 3mm goes for whether you're doing a Christmas card or a hanging decoration, because obviously the gilded papers, the metallic edge papers, only come in that single 3mm width. So your choice is made for you there. In addition to that, I'm going to be using my superfine quilling tool. You'll be fine if you wanted to use your standard quilling tool, if that's what you prefer for the body of the candy cane. But because the holly and the holly berries are so small, you will find it better. You'll get a better effect using a superfine tool if you possibly can. As well as that, you will need some pointed tweezers for this make as well. Now it doesn't have to have a curve in your tweezers like this one. If they're straight, that's absolutely fine as well, but you will need a pointed end, and that will become clear why later on in the video. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to start with the body of the candy cane to start with. I'm going for a very traditional red and white design for mine, but of course it's completely up to you what colour scheme you go for. And as I said, the body of the candy cane, apart from this very last little bit of it there, they are half strips that we use. So like I've said before, if you want to just go with half strips, whatever strips you're using, it will all be in proportion for you. But if you want to do exactly the same as me, my half strips are about 19.5 centimeters. Okay, so we're going to start off by making some closed loose coils. So much in quilling starts with a closed loose coil. So just a quick reminder for you, I've got my paper strip, it's cut to the right length. I'm going to slide it between the two prongs of my quilling tool, pull it back so there's hardly anything sticking out the other side, and start to twist. And it's going to be a closed loose coil, so I'm going to go all the way to the end, wind it all round the whole strip, and then slide it off my quilling tool and let it open out. There we go. Once it's stopped moving, I'm just going to get the end, dab of glue, and then smooth that down. And that's what gives it the closed part of the closed loose coil. Okay, and there we go. Now here are the ones I've made earlier. So you will want 4 closed loose coils in white. We're using half strips. 4 closed loose coils in red using half strips. And then you'll want just 1 closed loose coil as a quarter strip. And let me just check the measurement for you for that one, should you want it. A quarter strip will be about 9.5 centimeters, or a quarter of whatever strips you're using. So if you want to pause the video now and then come back to me, start playing the video again when you've got those ready to go, and I'll show you what we do next to put them together. Okay, so you've got all your coils and we're ready to go. Okay, so let's start right at the tip. of our candy cane. And what we're going to do, we'll start off very simply with a teardrop. Okay, but as you can see, this teardrop is slightly curved. So all I'm going to do is just manipulate it. I'm going to use the pad of my thumb to shape that teardrop into a curved teardrop, like so. Okay, now obviously I've got my candy cane facing that way and I'm curling it that way. That's fine, because of course we can just flip it over and we've got the tip of our candy cane. Then for the next 3 stripes, if you can just see there, it's kind of a half circle shape. Okay, so I'm going to use a white one because I want the colours to alternate. And what I'm going to do, I've found the end that I've glued down, and again I'm going to use the pad of my thumb, so that will be the straighter edge, and then I'm just going to curve it down so I get points at the end of the flat edge. Okay, so that gives you kind of a semicircle look, and that's going to go next to that one. Okay, what you might find you need to do for this design is just exaggerate the bends a little bit. So I might just put an extra bit of a curve into that one as it goes around the bend. Okay, next we're going to do exactly the same thing in red. So I'm looking for the end that I've glued down using the pad of my thumb and just letting it, so I'm kind of pushing it down into the pad of my thumb, and then at each end you will just press into corners. Okay, it gives you a D shape, and then I'm just going to extend. I'm going to just make it curve a little bit more because it will relax a little bit and you'll lose a little bit of the curve. So if you kind of start with it a little bit more exaggerated, it will kind of balance out in the end. Yeah, that'll be okay. And then for the next stripe, again, exactly the same thing. Pad of my thumb on the straight and bending it down. And then we'll go there. And you can see we're starting to get the curve of that shape. Now what I'm going to do, I'm quite happy with those shapes, so I'm going to glue them together before I do anything else. And you will notice that for each one it's kind of overlaps by half. Okay, so if I put the glue on the top half of this one, and then I can pop, always do it on a flat surface, remember, so it's going to be nice and even, and just hold that in place for a second or two. There we go. Always a good idea not to rush your gluing, otherwise you're going to move on to the next part and the ones that you've already glued won't stay and it'll move around a little bit and just drives you mad. Okay, so just check where I want the glue for the next one, and it's going to be on that half of my shape. Bit of glue on there and press that, just check that's going to be okay. Can just give that a moment or two. There we go. And then the next bit will be going on there. So again, a bit of glue on the top half. And of course, because it's paper, you can always If it's starting to lose its curve a little bit, you can always just encourage it round a bit more. Show it who's boss the paper. You'll really get used to kind of how much pressure you need to put on the paper, and that again depends slightly on the type of paper you're using and the weight of it. And there we go, we're starting to get that shape. Now on this finished example we can't really see too well because I've got the holly in the way, but if I flip it over you'll be able to see that the next few are almost just marquise shapes, which we've done before, but they might just need a slight S curve in them. Okay, but what we will do is we'll start off, so we've used white there, so I need a red one next, looking for the end that I've glued down. So one pinch is going to be there, the other pinch opposite, so I'm doing that at the same time. I'm just going to check if I need any more of a curve to it than that, and I think that will probably be okay as it is. And I'm going to do the next one before I do any more gluing. So I'm going to make that into a marquise as well. Okay, and what you can do, should you need to, is just give it a little bit of a curve. So you've got your straight marquise. If you just bend the ends a little bit, it gives you a bit more of an illusion of it being that kind of stripe. And they fit really nicely together. So if I just do that to that, just ever so slightly, they fit in quite nicely there, that's better. Lovely. So the next stripe will be a red. So again, I'm going to start just with a straight marquise. Test it. And yeah, that just needs a little bit more of a curve. And there we go. And then we'll have one more white stripe. Marquise with a little bit of a bend, just ever so gentle. Lovely. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So I'm going to get these started to be glued. So again, just gluing the top half, which will join to the one before. Hold that in place a second or two. Just check the next one's okay. Pop some glue on there. Lovely. So you get this illusion of the stripes kind of winding around a 3D shape. Such a lovely traditional design, isn't it? The candy cane at Christmas. There we go, and I'll put my last white one. On there. Oops, it's coming away. Now, of course, if you're going to be gluing it onto a card, you can always just, when you come to glue your candy cane onto the card itself, you can always just, when you glue it, just give it an extra bend so it's exactly the shape you want. But when it's going to be hanging on a tree, if you do need it to be a bit more curved, as I say, just manipulate it carefully until it holds the shape that you want it to be. I'm quite happy with that one. Now, all we need is to finish off this corner, because otherwise it's a bit of a strange tapered shape. So if you see on here, we have just a bit of a kind of triangle shape to fill that corner out. And to do a triangle, it's not going to be a perfect triangle, but we're going to pinch at one side between finger and thumb, and then the other side we're just going to push. So the flat of your finger is going to give you a flat side there. So you're kind of putting pressure on 3 sides at once, and that gives you your 3 corners of the triangle, like so. And then it's just a matter of deciding which way round it looks best. So if I do that one, it's at a strange angle. I think if it goes around that way, that's going to be the best one, but I'm just going to just adjust it until you're happy with it. I'm going to be happy with that one. And when you've got the shape that you want, again, just a bit of glue, and then you can join it on. Again, don't go for perfect with this. They're always going to be slightly rustic. I don't like that perfect word anyway. Nobody else is going to be as judgmental of your work as you are. There we go. Lovely. So we've got the candy cane. All we're missing now is our holly and berries. Okay, so let's make some holly and berries to go onto our candy cane. Now, I'm using the metallic edged paper, and I'm using, for the berries, which we'll start with, I'm just using 1/8 strips. So we're getting quite fiddly now, I'm afraid, and that is 5.5 centimetres, roughly. Now, what we're going to do is a tight coil. Okay, so exactly the same as a closed loose coil, into the quilling tool and start to wind it round. And when I take it off the quilling tool, I'm just not going to let go. I'm going to glue that end down. As I say, it is quite fiddly, this part, because we're going very small. There we go. And a good tip with our tight coils, put it on a flat surface, press it down to make sure it's level, turn it over and give it another press. Okay, so we've got one teeny tiny little holly berry. So if you want to pause the video here and make another couple of those, and you might want your tweezers handy for this as well. Okay, so when you've got your 3 holly berries, when you're working this small, it is really handy to have a pair of tweezers. So I'll just get hold of one berry, little dab of glue on the side of one berry, and I'm going to press it onto another berry, and we're just going to glue them to themselves to start with, which will make gluing them onto the holly easier once we've done the holly leaves. So I'm just going to have a little bunch of 3 holly berries. See if the camera will focus. If I get it really nice and close. There you go. Lovely shine on that metallic paper. Isn't that gorgeous? Okay, so I'm just going to put them to one side so they can dry while we do our holly leaves. Now, this is an occasion where the quarters and halves, etc., don't really work. So when I was working out the sizes for our candy cane, a 1/2 strip holly leaf was a bit too big and a quarter was a bit too small. So in this instance, we're going to go for a strip of paper that's about 18 centimetres long this time, so about 18 centimetres. You might want to play around with your sizing though, and with this technique as well, it's easier when it's bigger. So again, you might want to play around with sizes. Start with a full strip first and then move your way down and work out what size would be best for your candy cane. Okay, what we want is 3 leaves, so we have 3 closed loose coils, okay, from your green or whatever colour you're making your holly leaves from. Okay, so if you want to pause the video there and make your 3 strips of 18 centimetre long holly leaves. Okay, so once we've got our closed loose coils, you will need your tweezers for this part. Okay, and what we're going to do is get hold of our leaf and then start to squash it so you get this kind of oval shape. And then what you want to do is squeeze it, give it a really good squeeze so you've got a nice firm hold of it. And on the end, on one of the ends, you're going to pinch and push at the same time, which will give it that kind of jagged holly leaf look to it. So I'm going to pinch the end and push down towards the points of the tweezers. Okay, so we've got half a holly leaf. Looks a little bit rude at this stage. I'm going to turn it round, grip it in the same place, and then pinch the end and push it in. So you pinch and push at the same time and you get that slightly holly leaf-esque kind of look. There we go. Okay, let's do another one. So I've got my pointed tweezers. I'm going to grip it roughly halfway. And you want that kind of middle to be halfway as well if you can. There we go. And then I'm going to pinch the end and push it in. Turn my coil around, get hold of it again in the same place, pinch the end, oops, and push it in. Now, as I say, this is slightly easier when you've got a bigger coil, and it gets gradually harder as they get smaller. So if you're practicing this technique for the first time, start with a slightly bigger one until you get the hang of it, and then just start to go smaller until you get the right size for your candy cane. Pinch, whoops, and push. And of course, these are holly leaves. They're all going to be different. Every time they're different. Okay, there we go. We've got our 3 leaves. So here's my candy cane. I'm still, because these are quite small, I'm going to use my tweezers for this. And what we're going to do is place them onto the candy cane. Okay, so I'm going to just work out where they're going to sit, probably a bit round about there. So I'll just work out, I just want the glue on the end of this holly leaf. So putting plenty of glue on and then press it down, not too hard so it all moves, Rachel. Give it and press and just wait for that to have a chance to glue. There we go. And I'm going to get the next one. And I'll put that at an angle there so I can put a bit of glue on here. Whoopsie daisy, coming off. Just give them a little press for a minute or two. That's 2 down, and then this third one is going to be down there. Some glue on this end. There we go. So we've got our holly leaves on. And then if you remember, we had our berries that we glued to each other. Now these going on top of the holly, like so, will help the holly be a bit more secure and stay on better as well. So I'm just going to put some glue on the bottom of these, and then they will go in the middle of the holly leaves. Give them a press for a second or two, and then just leave it to dry. And hey presto, you have a candy cane with a holly decoration. Enjoy!